Good morning, Bismarck-Mandan. Dave Flohr here on the Dakota Housing Network, and we have a full house of co-hosts this morning. We got, to my left,
Greg Larson.
To my right,
Joe Sheehan.
And on the board,
hello,
Jim Walsh.
Hey.
All right.
Merry Christmas
Good.
to all.
Merry
Good
Christmas,
morning,
exactly. Oh boy,
Three
Joe.
dumb guys with no smart guy to ask questions.
Nope. Jim, you want to step in? Okay. Joe.
Wait a minute. You know what? We might have a shot at it today because I did drive by and decided to go in and stand in the lobby of a Holiday Inn Express.
Ooh.
All right.
So maybe.
So we get to ask him questions and see how he does. All right. Okay, now, Joe.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff this last week.
Good
with
stuff.
Rates.
Good stuff.
Yes.
We are, the primary mortgage market survey says 30-year fixed rate mortgage, 4.62%. Down. The 15-year fixed rate mortgage, 4.07%, flirting with threes again in the 15-year fixed rate mortgage. Of course, there's various points and fees included with those averages, and it's hard to ferret out the exact.
Yeah, that's not necessarily the rate you're going to get if you walk in.
Right, but it gives you an idea of what, on average, is being offered across the country last week. And so interest rates been on about a 2-month roll of improving. Mm-hmm. And of course, we know it's always funny to hear that when we know what happened yesterday.
What happened
Fed
yesterday?
raised
The Fed
rates.
went
How
up.
does that happen?
They raised their overnight rate.
Yeah, but fixed rate mortgages don't follow right on track with what the Fed's doing. Let's see what Bill Bodner in the Mortgage Market Guide has to say about all of this crazy rate action going on, a hawkish Fed statement, and a not dovish enough press conference from the Fed Chair Powell yesterday sent stocks tumbling lower to the benefit of bonds. That theme has carried through this morning as stocks are lower and bonds are higher. Here are the 5 takeaways from the Fed statement yesterday.
Oops.
Lowered forecasts to 2 rate hikes next year. Fed, some gradual hikes. Inflation inching down this year and next. Number 4, still on QT for a $50 billion, or still on quality QT, the
QE.
Yeah, is it a mistype?
I think it's a mistype. Bill mistyped something?
Still on QE for $50 billion a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still going to buy $50 billion a month.
Well, maybe it's a quantitative tanking versus quantitative easing. I don't know.
Yeah, that threw me a little bit. Overall, a bit more hawkish than markets expected. Stocks declined on the headlines and fell further after Powell's speech. Mortgage bonds were able to improve, which prompted our alert to float. Bonds are trading at their best level since April. With that said, this is not a time to be complacent in a floating stance because things can change rather quickly. Continue to float as the trend is currently our friend. However, as deals start to get into the 30 and even 45-day window to close, customers should consider locking as rates are at levels we didn't expect to see just a few weeks ago. Looking ahead into 2019, we are not seeing much upward pressure on rates as inflation is moderating. We are preparing be sure to, that's it. Okay. So basically, the bottom line is, you got, if you're closing in the next 30 or 45 days, you probably rates could
be good.
Yeah, and we're going to open into 2019 with rates in probably the mid 4s and steadily staying there.
So it's always good when the trend's your friend.
The trend is your friend. Yeah. If you're talking about interest rates.
Trend.
Now, doesn't the Powell statement kind of sound like does anybody remember the old Duracell? Was it the Duracell commercial with, what was the actor's name who had to put the battery on his shoulder?
Oh,
the guy from Black Sheep Squadron.
Robert Conrad.
Yeah. Does it not sound like...
Knock it off.
Does it not sound like, we're going to raise some rates still?
Yeah.
I'm not kidding about it. It almost kind of has this whole like... we're still tough, kind of.
Well, that's
kind of,
sort of. It was they made a hawkish statement by raising rates, but then they weren't dovish enough.
Right.
Or they were too dovish, I guess.
Well, it did get a whole lot of economists saying, "Wait, what? You what?"
Yeah.
So,
what's happened though is the stock market's dropped.
The market doesn't believe him.
yeah.
But boy, is that good for mortgage rates?
I honestly think we've talked about this before. What's the importance of the Fed's moves here? And I don't know. Like I mean, the longer I live, the more I know I don't really know anything. I just know the news we actually get compared to what's really going on is like looking through a keyhole at the truth, you know?
Yeah.
And so I just, the fact that the Feds continue to raise rates and the market doesn't believe it leads me to believe that the Fed is doing it because the Fed believes the market may have some headwinds.
Yeah.
That he's going to raise them until the idea here is how far can I raise rates without me being the problem in the economy?
Right.
Because I honestly believe he is trying to put the arrows in his quiver
Yes.
for a recession.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about that. That's they want
and the
that.
market's saying, no, that was recessionary. That was a
Yeah.
recessionary action. And he's like, uh-huh.
Yeah.
It sure was.
Yeah.
They probably prefer everybody to just ignore them.
Yeah,
And
well,
let them do their thing, and then, hey, you know, when it does turn into a recession, hey, we got something we can do about it
Hey, man.
because we've got those arrows in the quiver.
You know, but I honestly, I don't know what you expect. If you hit a recession, how would you fight it right now?
yeah.
Oh, it'd be tough.
Lower rates back to zero again?
That's all you got. That's all you got. I
That's-
guess you can start buying bonds again.
That's less than what, 4 moves to get back to zero?
We're there at what 2 3/4, I think. So
Yeah, they went up a
well, they got.
I mean, unless you're going to make big moves, you
They
can
got
do
like
it. You can,
8.
you can just go to zero.
They go quarters. They got 8, I guess. Yeah.
They go quarters. They got 8 moves.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I can't remember how fast they moved them in the last recession.
I can't either.
Faster than that, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think they dropped more than a quarter a few times.
I think faster than that. I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, they start buying. They
You
start,
message me at the Mortgage Guys if you know. You go to
Yeah,
my
yeah.
Facebook page at the Mortgage Guys and message
There
me
you
if you
go.
have.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
If anybody remembers that. That's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's so funny is when it was happening in live time, when you and I would have known exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we were tuned into the U6 versus the U3
Yeah,
unemployment
yeah,
rates and the, you know, I mean, we were, how many?
You should ask that question to Bill Bodner and see if he remembers. Of course, he'd just go back and look probably at his notes, but
He might know though.
he might
the
know.
brain,
He might remember.
Bill the Brain Bodner,
yeah.
but
Boy, is his prognostication. I can't say that word today.
prognostications.
There you go. That
Should've
was
stopped
there
by
for
the
you,
Holiday Inn
Dave.
Express.
well, there you go. Apparently, Greg was there too. But he's looking good.
Yeah. He's
Below 5 through
till
2020. Man, he is
One
looking
more year.
good.
One more year.
He is looking really good.
Oh yeah.
So-
Because the average is going to finish way below 5.
So
Oh, yeah.
you guys know what the anniversary today is? The anniversary of? It's the day when millions of young ladies had their hearts broken in 1957.
Oh, when you married your wife?
No.
okay.
No. It's when Elvis Presley went into the Army.
Oh,
That's today in 1957.
well,
They had a blue
Christmas without you.
And why did that break their hearts? Just because he wasn't
because
going
he
to be out
was
performing?
not going to be performing.
Oh well.
He was going to Germany.
How long ago was this? 70?
1957.
7.
Wow.
So how many years is it? More than a few.
Was
that
he
would
drafted?
be 60.
Yeah.
Or did he enlist?
No, he was drafted.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, that would
he
make
went.
everybody blue. Okay. Are we taking a break then? Since you
Well,
brought
I'm
that
trying
up?
to lead up to the break a little
Yeah.
bit here so
Okay.
we can see that.
There we are.
So anyway,
So the segue.
We'll be back
So
when we
Jim,
come back.
what are we
The government
hearing?
says veterans can get bigger loans, all kinds of other stuff we got
Yes,
to share with
a lot
you.
of
Yeah.
Currently, it's 32 degrees.
The Red River Farm Network. Ag News is here on SuperTalk 1270.
All right. It's Christmas time, baby. We're back
Snow
here
is
on the
falling
Dakota
on the
Housing
ground.
Network. Yeah, there's
Actually, it's not.
there's a flake on the ground somewhere. Dave Flohr, Joe Sheehan, and Greg Larson on the Dakota Housing Network. Okay, guys, there was an investigation called for this week by Senator Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts.
Good old Lizzie.
Yep. And she was a little torqued off because, you know, she was a big thing with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. She got
Yep.
the thing started. It was part of the
And
Dodd Act.
And then she was passed over for the
job. They
for the
had
job.
it up.
She built it. She made it.
Yeah.
Jen didn't get it.
She birthed the existence of it.
And I think
And
I
then got
don't
passed
know.
over
It'd
for
be
the-
interesting to see how it would have turned out. But President Obama at the time said, "I think we're not going to let you run it because then nobody likes you." I think that was the gist of the conversation. Let's go pick some guy from Ohio
Nobody likes him.
who
either.
lost his governor bid.
Nobody likes
Yes,
him.
he
either.
did.
In Ohio,
Yep.
after he left the CFP bill. But anyway, Senator Warren was a little upset because Mick Mulvaney was the new director that was appointed by President Trump to run the CFPB, and he decided he wanted to change the name to instead of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, he was going to rename it to the Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection. So he basically flipped two letters around.
Yeah.
Right.
But he was
Okay.
just following the rules.
But the legislation that created the bureau, which was the Frank Dodd Act, that's what it's called in that act.
Right.
So that's why he wanted to change it. And as Joe had brought up before when we talked about this, is that he was looking to change the tenor of the bureau also. Well, that did not sit well with Senator Warren. So she was calling for an internal investigation to look at this and how much it was going to cost and everything. And there would have been a cost to this.
Sure.
They said, they figured maybe about $300 million, because companies like, Joe's company would have had to change stuff on forms that they had, a whole bunch of stuff. But the new director of the CFPB was just confirmed by the Senate, I think, like within the last couple weeks.
Yep.
And she came out the day after Senator Warren asked for this investigation and said, never mind, we're not changing the name.
We're not going to do it.
Yeah, we'll do it internally with legislation and stuff, but as far as the public is concerned and everybody else, it's still the CFPB. So that ended that. So Elizabeth Warren, she got it done, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, she should be president, I think. with
She
that.
thinks so, too.
Yeah, she does. So because she gets things done, darn it. Next
Yeah.
day, boom, it's done.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, what else is going on?
We got some great news regarding loan limits.
Yes, FHA.
The government's saying get bigger loans.
Yes.
Get bigger loans. And so Freddie and Fannie came out with the new conforming loan limits, which were $44,350, and just a couple weeks ago. Well, then we were waiting to see, okay, well, what is the VA and what will FHA do? And, of course, VA just came out and announced that they're going to follow suit. So the new, like the counting limit in Burleigh County, if you were getting a loan here and you're a veteran, you could now go, and where it was $453, you're now at $484,350.
Yep.
So, and that does also help with the version of the jumbo loan for veterans too, which we call the VA high balance loan. I just helped a customer. We were pricing out about $900,000 loan, and it improved what she needs to bring to closing by $7,000. So the loan limit, it matters. So we can, and then FHA came out, and they also are following suit and improving that limit, and so now it'll be over 300,000. It's like 311.
311, I believe. Yeah.
311 and some change.
And it was 290 before.
Yep.
Yeah. 291.
Yep. So,
that's good.
We haven't had this in a while, where what we see house prices either kind of coming down or stabilizing in some parts of North Dakota, but loan limits are going up.
Yeah.
We haven't seen that for a while.
Which just gives flexibility to the market. Like you just said, you had a customer that worked for.
Yep,
And
saved her
it's
$7,000
just a
bucks.
little flexibility.
And cash
for it,
down.
and that's great. Yeah.
Well, in the FHA, it's that allows people to put less down, because the FHA program only requires 3.5% down, and so you're able to do 3.5% down on now a higher priced house.
Right. Yeah. So good news, and that also eventually affect our limits for the North Dakota Housing First Home Program. Those are based on the FHA limits. So we'll get our word from the IRS here in probably a month or so, and we can bump those up. So
we got a come on man text from Captain Grant Boley. He says
Mr. VA.
He goes 314,827 for FHA.
Okay,
come on,
thank you,
man. Give the people the truth.
Thank you, sir. All right. So since we're talking FHA here, this came from the Urban Institute. Four FHA trends to watch in 2019. The trend is your friend.
Yes.
I guess. I don't know. We'll find out here. What does it say? A healthy housing market has enhanced the FHA's performance. So the FHA has a big, what they call a mutual mortgage insurance fund, and that has been improving. It's got more capital in it, so that allows them to be healthier and be a better option for the market. It will keep their fees down that they charge for their mortgage insurance premiums. You won't see an increase in that, so that's a good thing. So that's a good trend for FHA. Another trend is down payment assistance is on the rise with FHA. There's more people are using down payment assistance, whether it's from a relative, through a gift, or through a nonprofit agency, or through a city, or through a state program like we have here. More people are using those programs with FHA financing, which I think causes some concern for FHA. And they are looking at those programs to see what they want to do. There's bigger problems nationwide with a lot of programs, and that's one thing. Joe, chime in on this. I was thinking about this. If FHA is concerned about down payment assistance programs being a problem, should they be putting a cap on, say, debt-to-income ratios if somebody's receiving a down payment assistance, and maybe where it's coming from should make a difference. So you kind of counterbalance that. Okay, they're getting that assistance from. It's not coming necessarily out of their own pocket. They're getting some assistance, but okay, if you're going to do that, then your debt-to-income ratios have to be better.
Yeah, or
lower than what they are,
or housing history, or credit, or payment shock.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Something.
The problem isn't down payment assistance programs.
No,
we go through this. We go through this again and again and again. I was just having this conversation with members of the appraisal board who disagree with me. It was just it's not an official conversation, but it's just a group of appraisers where. The banks let guidelines slide, and they'll be back in trouble like they were, and waiving appraisals and not, makes it riskier. And it's, the appraisals didn't matter in the cataclysmic meltdown in 2008. Values didn't matter. Anytime you're going to have a housing crisis, whatever the value was at the time that people bought it, protects nobody at all. When it melts down,
that's the value at the time.
And what's so funny is, so then people want to blame. Well, if it's not the values, it must have been the down payments everybody put down. No, it wasn't, because as we've shown time and time again, the stats come out on RD loans, VA loans, no money down in rural areas. So you got the RD program, which is in rural areas. What are the value of homes in rural areas?
They are whatever. Basically, comes down to whatever the buyer will pay for it. Yeah, within reason.
Whatever the borrower can afford. Yeah, exactly.
You got a price in. If
you have no idea from year to year what a house is worth in some of these small towns where no idea from year to year what that's really worth. Yeah. They could sit on the market. We've seen listing times of over a year in some of these small markets.
Yeah.
So what's that house really worth? We don't know. What's the down payment difference make? Well, the delinquency rates on RD and VA loans where there's no money down outperform every group of loans in all the vintages all the time. And then your performance at the Housing Finance Agency, essentially. A minimum requirement is $500 investment, and in all the years you've been there, I mean your loans perform.
Yeah, we're certainly our program. Delinquency foreclosure rates below national averages. They're right on top of North Dakota as a whole. So you can't say that. There's a problem with low down payment loans. Most of the time, when people have problems, it's life happens to them, unexpected expenses, etc. So you could argue that it's better. It was more important to look at is something like VA does with residual income, or cash reserves. How much do you have in cash reserves? So you have some flexibility in your budget to handle the car repairs.
Because you can get, like, so for example, you can get a VA home loan. We've done approvals for veterans where the debt-to-income ratios are well over 50%, close to 60%. But one of the things we have to calculate in a VA loan that I don't have to calculate in every other loan is the residual income.
Yeah. What's left over after all expenses?
Per person in the family.
Yeah.
We have to, how much money is there in that family after they pay these bills? So if we're at 60% debt to income ratio and they only have 40% left, how much money is there per family member in the household? Yeah. We don't have to do, I mean, I think RD has one other, they have a residual income requirement that has to be met, which is really small.
Yeah.
But again, low delinquency.
Yeah.
So if FHA really wanted to, and I've closed loans, FHA loans with 56% debt to income ratios recently. And so if you want to cover that, the issue isn't down payment assistance programs. The issue is if you're going to go over 50% debt to income ratio, maybe then you implement a residual income guideline, or maybe then you
something else to look at. Yeah, because that's not the problem. So anyway, we'll be in a break. And Jim, what are we playing? Darlene Love. All right, we'll be back on the Dakota Housing Network.
Currently, it's 32 degrees.
Dave Ramsey is heard here. Super Talk 1270.
Merry Christmas, baby. Should it treat me now?
All right, Otis Redding.
Yep.
Big O, baby.
Get a little soul on the Dakota Housing Network here.
Memphis soul.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Dave Flohr, Greg Larson, and Joe Sheehan, along with Jim Walsh, as always, on the board. And we are the Dakota Housing Network. And, guys, single women outpacing single men on the path to home ownership. Greg, do you see that
Yes.
in the realtor space?
Yes, I do.
A lot more single women?
Well, not noticeably, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
You-
it's
you
not
would-
like a huge number, but yeah, there's a lot more single women buying homes.
Okay.
I think.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I
They're
think
smarter?
could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think first of all, there's a trend with women to be more professional in their career, which means they have more disposable income earlier, so to speak. I think honestly that women see a home as a investment more than men do. I think that's part of it, and I also think that kind of like with divorce rates, when couples divorce, the women seem to want to get into a house again more quickly.
Okay. No, but it all makes sense.
So I think they all work.
The people getting married later. I mean, if they wait till they're
And people are getting married later in life, and but I just think that the women, as a general rule, see housing as an investment earlier or more clearly than men do.
Guys are out goofing around,
Yeah, we're out being men, stupid,
doing stupid stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And which is interesting.
We have big trucks. Women have nice houses. What can I tell you?
Yeah. But like I said, that's one of the things in as a discussion is that women typically make less than men, and I don't know what the percentage is now that they look at if it's less or not. But that's interesting that the perception and the reality in some instances is that they do make less than men, but they're more concerned about, hey, I want that house, I want to buy that house. So they are smarter, obviously.
Well,
when you think about it like that.
Is there any question?
No, there wasn't, but we're just confirming things here.
That's right.
We just want to confirm things. So, okay. Anything else in the real estate world, Greg, that we should be aware of?
Well, there's a lot of interesting stuff happening on a national level. The North Dakota always seems to buck the trend, but when we were having our in 2010, 12 through about 2015, where we were having a housing boom where we couldn't keep a house on the market, and people were buying homes. We had the oil, we had everything going. The nation was in a decline. Then we started to level off, and the nation started to take off.
Yeah.
And the housing market has been very good. Well, now we're seeing, this is the third quarter in a row where housing starts. New home starts are off slightly, and existing homes are off slightly, and we're just talking, little percentages. We're now seeing homes starting to sell more in North Dakota, especially in the Williston-Dickinson area, as you know, but things are picking up. And so sort of coming through that. Now we've not had a housing decline. We had a real stable, steady market, but there are some adjustments within that, in home prices and things. But so North Dakota is looking good. We're picking up. The population estimates are good, and the nation is just kind of ticking off just a little bit. But so the annualized dollar volume of houses for 2018 has been adjusted downward from $532 trillion with a T dollars to $530.5 trillion with a T.
Okay.
Or not 500, 5.35. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay.
So, we are housing is still a major
Yeah.
portion of our gross national product. That's why housing traditionally leads us into or out of a recession.
Mm-hmm.
So from people are saying there's going to be a recession, we don't see it in housing. So it isn't housing that's leading a recession. It's investment nerves,
Yeah.
if that's happening, which means that housing will be available to lead us out of a recession. So it's things are really interesting in the housing market. Plus, we just saw what the population is supposed to happen up in the Williams County area.
Oh, okay.
It's the Williston area right now. That area is pegged at right around 38,000. By 2000, I can't remember the date. 2030, was it going to be up at 100,000? They expect.
Okay, so roughly in 10 years.
In 10 years, it's going to darn near triple.
Wow. Okay, that's
So
a lot.
That's a huge bunch of housing. Now, I might have the year wrong, but it's coming. And they haven't backed off on Bismarck's population increases either. All the people that do those prognostications are still saying by 2050 we're going to be, 120,000 in just Bismarck and 150 in the or 160 in the Bismarck-Mandan area. But I don't believe those numbers are exactly right because I see Mandan as a growing area.
Yeah.
I think Mandan is going to grow more residentially than commercial still, but I think, the whole area is going to do well. Fargo is actually also pegged to come to a growth, but not as explosive a growth, but a growth. So, we're at 750,000 now.
The state, yeah.
The state. And, I don't know if it'll be while I'm still in real estate, but I don't see us missing 1 million before too long.
Yeah.
That's a lot of houses, a lot of residences that still have to be produced.
Yeah. Now, Fargo, of course, they need their diversion done.
Yeah,
to
they do.
meet the growth.
Yeah.
How much? No, the Cheyenne River.
They need the water supply, the Red River Valley
And
water
they need the
supply
water
more
supply
than they
also.
need the diversion,
Yeah,
but
do
they
they?
need them both. Yeah.
Okay. No, like West Fargo, that's still restricted, not as much because they did do a diversion on the Cheyenne River, which allows them to build out.
Right.
So they can go west,
Right.
where Fargo can't. Fargo can go south.
Fargo can go south.
Yeah. Can they make an end run around West Fargo and go way south and then out? If
I expect
like a bootleg.
I expect they probably could, but
Yeah.
Fargo's biggest issue, I've been in this water business for a long time as a avocation, not a vocation. Fargo needs a reliable source of water supply.
Yeah.
Just in normal growth, they're not going to get it out of the Red River Valley and the aquifers they're working with. So the Missouri River diversion over to the Red River Valley, the Red River Valley Water Supply Project, it's very expensive and it's really very controversial, and I think it's probably really important. And my other side is why should the Red River Valley get the water from the west?
Yeah.
Well, it's a matter of that water is there, and if we don't get it, it's going to have to go downstream to somebody else. And so let's grab it while we've got it and have the rights to it.
And how much of an effect does it have on our system here if we divert water to eastern North Dakota?
Well, let me put it this way. The last estimates I heard on the amount of water in a drought here that will go to the Red River Valley will almost equal the amount of water that evaporates off of Lake Sakakawea every year.
Okay, so in total, not much
Not much.
of
No.
any effect. So we can afford to give them the water, so to speak.
Yes. Plus, we are entitled to it. The big issue is the state of Missouri wants a lot of water to flow by so they can float their barges.
yeah.
Okay. Plus, other things. But Western United States is also running out of water. Denver right now is putting up plans on piping water from the Missouri River uphill to Denver.
Okay,
So
we
that
should,
they can continue to grow. I mean, there's a lot of people that want that water.
yeah.
And we have the right to it, so we should take advantage of it and keep it here.
They should be working on something, we want to be green energy, no coal and all that stuff. That's
Yeah.
wind. They should do something like fake water.
Yeah, fake water.
Yeah,
Right.
that sounds like that's what we really need is fake water.
Well, and if you,
Fake water.
Fake water.
How does that work?
I have no idea.
Yeah, instant water. You just add water. Yeah.
There's got just add water. Instant water. Double your water resources.
But so in the big scheme of things, it's an expensive project to build, but it's very good for the long down the road term growth of North Dakota.
because it affects our ability to just maintain what we have.
Well,
it
and
affects that ability. So.
like it or not, Fargo and the Red River Valley, because of everything they do,
They're kind of important.
they're a large
Yes.
economic driver of this state, and that's not going to change. So as a state, maybe we ought to try to support that and make
Yeah.
sure it happens.
2/3 of the population lives there.
Yeah, it's kind of important. So,
Yeah.
Okay, Jim, what are we going to leave on this time? Little Dean Martin,
Big Daddy Dino.
All
big
right.
Dean Martin.
I really
Everybody
have to
loves
say
somebody.
It's cold
Sometime.
outside,
I've got to go
but
away.
baby, it's cold outside.
This evening has
Been hoping that you drop
so
in.
very nice.
I'll hold your hands, they're just like
My mother will start to
beautiful
worry.
what?
Currently, it's 35 degrees.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on SuperTalk 1270.
All right, we are back on the Dakota Housing Network. And Jim, what are we playing this time?
Our Winter Love, January 1963.
Our Winter Love.
Yeah.
Okay, I do not. You said we would not recognize it.
If you listen to it, you probably recognize it.
Okay, all right. You said we wouldn't know this one, so
No.
I believe you. No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I believe you. All right.
Big hit.
Yeah, all right. We're back on the Dakota Housing Network, and something that's in the news, and we should probably talk about what the effect would be on housing, is the potential of a government shutdown.
Yeah.
Because Mr. Trump wants to have some money in the current, what they're proposing for spending, to include money for his border wall. And the House passed a bill to extend the government
Yep.
without that money in there. Or the Senate passed it. And the House,
Right.
there are some people in the House that they absolutely don't like that. They
Yeah.
don't want to back down because obviously Congress, the House is going to change come January with Democrats will be taking over, so they figure that it's not going to happen. And you said this morning, President Trump had kind of said, okay, yesterday, but now he said this
he's
morning he came out and said,
Kind of saying, well, there's no way to build the wall, or this is going to be a tough time signing it.
Okay, so he may not sign it even if the Senate, even if the House would pass
Yeah.
it.
I
Okay.
heard that actually on the way over
Okay.
here. On
What marvels me is I remember the first time we went through the government shutdown, and remember how we covered that like minute by minute.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, the government's going to shut down.
Yeah.
Now, and now they talk about the government shutting down, and we're like going,
Yeah.
Well, once it
Yeah.
actually happened once or twice, it just
Yeah.
didn't seem like a big deal anymore.
yeah,
Yeah.
nothing happened.
Life went on.
Life went on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but
I mean, I'm sure somebody was impacted. By
Absolutely,
It. Don't get me wrong.
yeah.
I'm sure there was
Oh,
a
yeah.
major problem. I'm sure it was more than a minor inconvenience for some people,
Yes.
but particularly government employees that weren't getting paid.
Sure.
But overall, like just the whole public sentiment about it. I mean, oh my God, the government's going to shut down. Now what? You know, and then now we're like,
Yeah.
Well, I think the reality of it, the government doesn't really shut down. All the essential services.
so let's talk about what
It's
would,
the
what could
non-essential
go down
services. Well, off the top of my head, last time national parks closed,
here.
that'd be tough on us in December.
Yeah.
Oh,
and certain other, office buildings and stuff were closed.
Yeah.
I was actually in D.C. when they did the shutdown, and there are a lot of places you couldn't get to.
I wonder how you close a national park, or keep somebody from going into a national park if the rangers aren't
there.
Well, that's the thing. There's rangers at the gates, but you can't go in.
Yeah, but people are resourceful.
Yep.
And they find a way in.
Well,
but now from
those guys from North Dakota, when they said they couldn't go to the World War II memorial,
yes, they just
told the guy to step aside, and he did, and they went in.
Because weren't they on an honor flight?
They were on an honor flight.
They were on an honor flight, and you're not keeping us out of there.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
So here's one thing that could be spooky in this budget, in this extension that we're talking about that he's saying might not happen, is also the extension for flood insurance.
There we go. I was just going to say, let's talk about housing effect.
So I don't know how it works, but there's the very real potential that if the government shuts down this time, we don't have an authorized flood insurance program, which means you're still covered if you have flood insurance, but you can't buy new flood insurance. Right. What does that do to your ability to write a mortgage if you can't put flood insurance if it's in the floodplain? So that could delay
somebody
those
comes
things.
Up with some sort of, and then even we've gone back and forth with that. Like one of the exact way that affected was USDA funding. Remember?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big deal. The first time that came up, we literally saw we were not able to write. I actually did a news story. It was a TV story where one of my customers was featured because they actually couldn't close on their loan. Yeah. Because nobody was closing USDA loans because of the first government shutdown. And so we literally had to wait till funding was restored. Now we kind of go, everybody closes them. We know they're going to restore funding because the history of the government has been to go back and honor those guarantees. Yes.
Yeah.
And so you still buy them during.
Yes, we will. Yeah.
North Dakota Housing still buys. Everybody still buys them. We still close them because there's been a normalization of.
Right.
We know it works. They shut down, and then when they start up again, they come, like you just said, they go back and they fund. It's all funded, and we're good.
Yeah.
So what would happen with the NFP? So the question would be, well, okay, will lenders close with the idea that if something happens in that break, the government will step up and do the right thing? Well, no one's going to do it though until they have a pattern and practice of it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And right now it would be. With flood insurance, it's a little different than a guarantee on the mortgage, because if something would happen to that house,
right, and
it got flooded, okay, well, who's on the hook here? Number one.
Yeah, if the borrower defaults, the borrower's still at fault. If the borrower defaulted in the time that a guaranteed loan wasn't guaranteed, you still have a borrower.
You have a borrower. You got a collateral that's standing.
And the whole proposition was that this person would pay this. In a flood, that's the accident. That's the nature. That's the act of God kind of thing. So what do you do if you have a flood while flood insurance isn't being written?
Yeah, that's the risk.
Yeah. Again, just to repeat, if you have flood insurance,
you're fine.
It's good.
You're fine. You're covered. It's the new loan that you can't place it on.
So your lender is, of course, who's going to be the bad guy. Maybe doing you the biggest favor because if you.
Yeah. Well, and so it's something to be cognizant of, even though obviously flood's not a problem today here. But if you're buying a home that's in the floodplain where you'd be required to.
So
Joe's
if I were getting ready to close a loan in the next 2 weeks and the government is still functioning and I know that.
Get it closed.
Buy the insurance.
Yeah.
Right away.
Now.
Yeah. Get her done.
Get it
so
closed.
You have the insurance. So if you can't close today, you have the insurance in place. And there's, just get her done.
Yeah. So from a housing perspective, that's probably the biggest issue for somebody to be concerned about. And really, there isn't really, I think because, like you said, it's been normalized, Joe, that you as a lender, us as an investor, we know what's going to happen, and we'll work with that and can deal with it. But so I don't think there's much else housing-wise that's really affected by a government shutdown. So.
No, I don't think so.
Or anything. It just doesn't. It doesn't spike. Remember it was the countdown.
Yeah.
The 10th day.
Yeah.
The 30th day of the government. The 45th day of the government.
Yeah, and
they had little clocks running on the TV.
Yeah. And they probably say, well, they're going on vacation anyway for a month or so, right? So that's okay. But like you said, there are the individuals that work for the government that are friends and neighbors that aren't
will
going to
be
get
furloughed
paid.
And they won't be paid until.
So there is the personal. It's more of a personal effect, really, with when the government
I'm sure there are
shuts
people
down.
who are waiting some of those non-essential services that, like, let's say if something is costing you a certain amount of money and you've got some sort of appeal in with an agency that's shut down, that now is like if that was supposed to be resolved and now it won't be resolved, that's costing you money or time when it's not getting resolved. I mean, I'm sure there are instances.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem to be like something though that where it's so common or such a big deal that it raises any kind of anxiety.
So there's cases probably on the rental side of things where people are getting rental assistance. I don't know how it affects that.
Don't know.
Hopefully, like a housing authority, Morton County, Burley County, they have enough reserves that they can cover things if they're not getting paid by the government. But that certainly could be an issue with somebody. Well, we can't give you an assistance payment, so then that affects the landlord because he's got a renter that can't make their rental payment. So that's something. But so it really comes down to more of a individual effect almost here with
and the other question is who decides what is and what isn't essential.
Yeah, I don't know.
It would be the executive branch. So last time we had a government shutdown, I think some things were shut down to make a point.
They were, like the memorial on the lawn there.
So who determines what's essential? I don't know if they know that.
Yeah.
But I do know we have 2 minutes to talk about Christmas.
Okay.
And the fact that we won't be on the air until Christmas is over.
Yeah. So Merry Christmas, everybody.
So Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
And what a blessing it is to live in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Yeah, absolutely. And we don't have to shovel yet.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, or I shoveled once, I think.
We've got bonus blessings this year.
Yeah, no shoveling, so that's nice. No problems with snow on the roof. No problem with ice on the sidewalks.
So Bing Crosby, you just keep your dream. We'll take a brown Christmas.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Hey,
I have a little bit of snow in my backyard,
I'll take a little bit of snow. I just don't want the wind or the sub-zero temperatures.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll be back on after Christmas next week. I think Joe and I will be here. Greg, you've got other personal things to take care of, I guess, or something like that.
Just a little treat.
Yeah. Okay, that's always nice. And of course, your wife Diane's getting ready to. Legislator will be cranking up after the New Year's. And,
she is January 3rd.
All right, so we'll find out what's going to happen in the government locally. Yep. So, all right. Okay, Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas, Jim. Merry Christmas, Joe. Merry Christmas, Greg.
And everybody out there, have a blessed and safe and Merry Christmas.
Thank you.